Welcome to the Dissertation Writing Workshop. I'm Jacob Mays, and today I'm going to begin 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Dissertation Writing Workshop. I'm Jacob Mays, and today we're going to begin writing Chapter 5 of the dissertation. But before we begin, I'm going to review with you the various sections of Chapter 5 and the objectives and purpose of each section. Okay? Then after this, we will begin writing each section paragraph by paragraph. Okay? All right. So, the first section in Chapter 5 is the introduction. Okay? Now, the introduction serves two purposes. First, you give the purpose of the study. You refamiliarize the reader with the problem that you initially are trying to solve, and you're going to tell them what to expect in Chapter 5 as far as content and organization. Okay, that is the purpose of the introduction. Next, you have the summary of findings. Okay, they have just read Chapter 4. Okay, and you detail all of the methodology, the approach that you took, the sample. You detail the results of the statistical analysis and all of that. But here, what you're going to do is you're just going to give them a summary of the results. What was the research question? What were the results? What was the research question? What were the results? You're not going to give any, statistical notations. You're just going to summarize what the results were. Because the purpose of this is to center the reader on the findings so that when you're discussing the results, they actually know what the results were. Okay? Now, the third section is where you discuss the results in the context of the literature and the theoretical or conceptual framework. Okay? So first you talk about the theoretical or conceptual framework. You describe what the theoretical framework is or conceptual framework is. You identify its components, and then you talk about, based on this theory, what we expected to see in the terms of the results for each of the research questions. Okay? And then you're going to indicate whether or not your results aligned or did not align with what you expected. Next, you're going to interpret the findings in the context of the literature. All right? So you're going to go to your literature review, and you're going to pull out at least 3 to 4 studies that you discussed in your literature review. Okay? And you're going to, again, summarize those studies from the literature. And then you're going to say, based on these studies, we expected to see these results. And then you're going to say, the current study, based on the results, research question 1, the results aligned or did not align with what we expected. Research question 2, they aligned or did not align with what was expected, and so on and so forth. And again, we're going to give you examples of how this is done. In the fourth section, it's the limitation sections. Here you're going to discuss elements of your study that may limit the interpretability or the application of your study. Okay? There may be some things related to the sample or the methodology that limits your study's ability to be universally applied in the universe. Okay? So that's what you're going to discuss here, and I'll give you examples as we get to that section. And then you're going to just come to the implication section. You're going to talk about the implications as it relates to practice, the implications as it relates to social change, either on the individual, organizational, or societal policy level, and the implications based on theory, empiricism, or the methodology. Now, you don't have to cover all, but you definitely need to cover practice, and you need to cover how it's going to affect individuals, organizations, and society from a social change perspective. Methodology, sometimes there are no implications as it relates to theory or methodology. But if the study aligns with the theory or what the theory expected, then the implication is that it expands the theory, right? And if it doesn't align, you might talk about the theory, this area of research is not covered by the theory. So it helps explain the limitations of the theory, right? And then finally, you're going to discuss the recommendations for future research. The recommendations are typically based off of the limitations of the study. Okay? And then any other recommendations for improving the study that you can think of. And then finally, you have the summary and conclusions, which are basically a summation of Chapter 5 and the takeaway, the big takeaway from your study. All right? So that's essentially what we're going to cover here in the Chapter 5 writing workshop. So the next video will cover how to write the introduction section step by step. All right. So I'll see you soon.